Like,
well, I've hit start streaming, but it hasn't hit YouTube now. Now it's hitting YouTube, and I usually give it a couple seconds to just warm up a little bit. And we're live.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Stacy Boyd. I'm Senior Editor with Harlequin's Desire line. And I'm really excited to be here this morning moderating today's conversation about why we all need romance right now. So thank you to Romancing the Capital in Ottawa for inviting me and these authors to their online readers convention. And I'm going to have our three amazing authors introduce themselves. Then we'll get the discussion rolling. As we go along, we're happy to answer any viewer questions that come in through the YouTube channel. And we'll be doing comments on Facebook after as well. So without further ado, let's meet our panel. So first up is Naima Simone. Take it away.
Okay. All right. No pressure being first. Okay. All right. My name is Naima Simone, and I am a USA Today bestselling author, been published since 2009. I write on the steamy side, contemporary romance, and I write for the Harlequin Desire line, and I love torture, dark heroes, and really kick behind, because I'm sure I can't curse, heroines. So if you love those, then, just dive into my books. That was not a sales pitch. I didn't come out that way, but I was nervous. So there you go.
I think that was great. Karen Booth, take it away.
I'm like Naima. I write steamy contemporary. I've been published since 2012, I want to say. I've been writing for Desire since 2015. My 20th Desire is going to come out later this year. I've published a little over 30 books with the melange of publishers, most of which are not in business anymore, which happens in romance. And and I do some indie publishing too, some sort of hybrid. And I love to write really smart heroines and heroes who aren't intimidated by that, who aren't there. I want to see two individuals kind of meet their match, but just not shy away from who each individual person is. That's kind of my jam.
Nice, great, thank you. And Jayci Lee, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jayci Lee, and like these ladies, I also write for Harlequin Desire. So I guess I have to admit that I write steamy romance. I had no idea I could write steamy. So
welcome to the dark side.
I know, the warm side. And so I write steamy, fun, kind of funny desires. I gotta get that in. I can't help joking around. My characters tend to have a side of the goofiness in them. And I'm a debut author. My first Harlequin Desire came out this February. And thank you. And the love and reception I've received from everyone and the readers I'm so grateful for it. I'm so excited to start this journey. And I just want to share with you guys why we need romance.
Yes, and that's a great segue. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go around and sort of start with a different person for each question. I'll write down some notes if there's something that I want to ask. So Karen, let's start with you. Tell us what you think. Why do we all need romance right now?
I think, I thought about this morning in the shower, where I get all my best ideas. But, at first I was sort of like, we need to believe in love and good things right now. But I think we all know that it's here, right? So I think we need to be reminded of love and positivity and good things, and that, because we're living in a very weird time right now. And so I think we just need to know that, yes, there is something beyond this. What we're living in right now is strange and unusual, but it can, it doesn't have to all be bad. And just a reminder that, no matter what, that love is still part of our lives, part of the world, and it will always be there for us. And then, of course, the escape, because I think we all need a break. There's only so much, we can handle right now. So just being able to just kind of like turn it all out and just focus on something that's purely good and positive and hopefully engrossing. That's why we need romance.
Yeah. And Naima, what do you think?
Like Karen, I too was thinking in the shower. It's where I do all my best thinking.
Well, you stole my last question. Now we have an answer. Where do all the good ideas come from?
That's right. It is. It's the shower. And like Karen, I think like in romance, when people talk about romance in general, they treat escape like this dirty word, like like it's not. It's something for us to be ashamed of. And I don't see why. I don't get that, because we all need to escape from where we are. For sometimes we need to just transcend. It's kind of like, how, like, I know especially in my parents' generation, because they made me sit down and watch it, Star Trek, you just want to like beam me up to somewhere else, just for a little while. And I think that's even more important now, like when things are so uncertain, they're changing every day, and sometimes not for the best, and we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. When we go into a romance, we know without a doubt, no matter that the hero and the heroine, they're going to go through conflict, they're going to go through like all these trials and just like uncertainty like we face. It might not be a pandemic, but they are facing obstacles. But we all know in the end there's going to be this happily ever after. And there's a comfort in knowing what we're going to get at the end of that book. When we don't know what we're going to get at the end of Tuesday, we know at the end of the book we're going to have this happily ever after, and they're going to get this. They have this connection with this person, they have love with this person, comfort, this security. And more than ever, I think we all need that. We need to know that there's triumph, healings, it all comes together, and it creates this, no matter what's happening in the world, in their world, it's this beautiful place that they know they have certainty and they have security and they have love. So that's why I think, just especially now, I mean, that's my reason for reading all the time, but especially now, it's just so crystal clear. That's why we need romance.
Oh, thank you. Jayci.
I agree with Naima in that having a guaranteed happily ever after takes away the anxiety of not knowing the ending. Sometimes you're reading a book and there's this lovely thread of romance in it, and kaput, somebody dies. And I mean, seriously. And I'm just like heartbroken, and what the heck did I just spend like 12 hours on this book? But romance never does that to you. So in these times of uncertainty, you know how you're going to feel after reading a romance. You're not going to feel devastated. You're not going to feel heartbroken. You're not going to be sobbing actual sad tears. You might sniffle with happy tears, which is, I love that feeling when your heart aches a little and it's like the perfect, grand gesture. But ultimately, I think we need romance because it's a symbol of hope in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Right? It's a reassurance that there's love and goodness ultimately in people's hearts, and you could overcome trials. You triumph. You just reach that goal of happily ever after. And I think it gives us hope to read that romance, to read happily ever afters.
Yes, I'm
That's
hearing.
it.
Oh, sorry. Were you not done?
I said, that's it.
That's it. I'm hearing lots of good themes, escape and a sense of certainty and comfort, a sense of hope and reassurance for that happily ever after. That's all the reasons why I like romance too. One thing that I was thinking about was connection, because we can't really connect with anybody. Both in the romance characters, but in these worlds that you guys create with your connected series and characters that people return to, there's a sense of connection. Have you found with your fans that they're reaching out more about characters that they love or worlds that they love? Naima, let's start with
like more, often, which I find really great. And I just wish didn't need a pandemic in order for them to do this. Not calling any you out, but when's your next book coming out? What's it going to be? Just I think people, especially readers, are just even more hungry for books. And so I've been asked that more. And I've started posting like more, teasers or little excerpts from books, so people can, even though the book might not be coming out until later this year or even next year, I can introduce them to it and kind of just, kind of fill that need that we all have, because honestly, I do the same thing to the authors that I love. I have been doing the same thing, shamelessly been doing the same thing.
Karen, oh, sorry, Naima. I didn't mean to cut you out there.
Oh, no problem.
The delay. I'm going to work on this delay. Karen, have you seen a difference at all?
The interesting thing for me is that I've gotten more emails from international readers.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah. So from Brazil, Germany, Spain, Sweden. And I think part of it was that I had a series last year that was a little bit delayed overseas because the first book was Christmas and the last book is Christmas. And, I think everybody likes to put out books seasonally. So anyway, I think people got a taste of the series and then they wanted to know what was going to happen next, kind of thing. One thing I have noticed, I do feel like, like I have a reader group on Facebook. I feel like people have been more engaged. They've been I have a book out next month, and when I sent out arcs, they just doubled them up. I mean, I sent them out, and a day or two after people got them, they were done and talking about it. And normally, I'm like, you guys, I sent it to you way too early, obviously, because we're not ready for the hype yet. But so those have been the big things. Obviously, people are online more, and they want to connect, kind of like what you were saying, Stacy.
Yeah. And Jayci, you have nothing in the past to compare it to, but what has been your experience with the release of your first book? Are the readers asking for more engagement with you? Are they asking for more characters from your series?
I feel like that readers have been engaging more with me through social media. I would have posts from readers, reviewers, bloggers, where they're saying, I've been having a really bad week and I just didn't know what to do with myself. But my friend sent me this arc to share with me, and it was exactly what I needed. Hearing that, I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed, but I would cry just thinking my book is giving these people like solace and hope, and it's something else. So just the tweets and lovely things they say are just so generous. And I think they just the engagement with my readers that way, it's new and exciting.
That's great. So if you guys don't have any more comments on this, I'm going to ask my next question.
Okay.
All right. So I'm interested in what romance stories have resonated with you recently. So Naima, let's start with you this time.
Okay. I can't say like movies have, because I've always been like movies. I don't really watch romantic movies. I have a few, and they're more classics. Like Dirty Dancing, Mr. Pizza, all of that. But usually, because I write romance and I read a ton of it, I'm more of the blow 'em up, or is somebody being killed or hunted by a psycho killer kind of person. I'm that person. No chick flicks. But as far as books, I've really been in a reread kick lately. But there were, like, I read Queen Move by Kennedy Ryan, which was amazing. I read Beyond Just Us by Kimberly Kincaid, which was amazing. And all of these, I think the theme with all of them were they had the most amazing heroines. They were successful, they were passionate, they were scary intelligent, and the heroes were more than a match for them. And the emotion in them were, whew, okay. I mean, I had book hangovers after reading them. And then I've been doing a reread of Shirley Gray and Talia Hibbert. Like, I've been killing Talia Hibbert's books. Like, girl, if I didn't just love her so much, and she was just such a sweet person, I would really want to lock her in my basement, kind of like Misery style, and just I read her books and I'm like, why am I doing this again? She's just amazing. So I've been really going down that, because she's funny. She makes me feel, she's like woke, like seriously woke. And her, like, it's sexy, it's swoony romantic, and I've just been killing all of her books lately, because they're like my happy place. And so I've just been going through her backlist, even though I've read all of her backlists. I've just been going through it again.
Yeah, there's that theme again about going back to what you love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Karen, what have you been finding resonates with you?
I've been there's two ends. I've been rereading like some Jane Ann Krentz romantic suspense kind of things. And again, rereading, because I don't really need any suspense in my life. But I know how those books end, so I'm cool with it, And, so I can kind of, I don't want to say be on autopilot, but it's not a huge effort. It's not, and part of it is because it's a reread, so I already know the characters and all of that. And then the other side would be kind of more like fluffy rom-com sort of stuff. I love Susanna Nix. She won a Rita last year for the third book in her series. I can never remember the name of the series, but it starts with Remedial Rocket Science as the first book, and then they have these really cool kind of comic booky covers. They're not, the heat level isn't super high, but that's fine. But they're just very comforting books. I love the heroes. And the heroines are just this great mix of kind of quirky, funny, sweet, but smart, super smart. And I don't know. It's like eating candy in bed, and that's kind of a good, that appeals to me right now.
Right, for sure. Jayci, what's been on your bookshelf or on your TV or your streaming these days?
Naima stole my.
How can you?
I know. My favorite love story, like this year since the pandemic, has been Talia Hibbert's Get a Life, Chloe Brown.
So good.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, yes, I reread that also, and I reread Christina Lauren's Honeymooners. I'm definitely going for the fluffy, funny, lighthearted rom-coms right now, and also fantasy. I've been reading Starless Sea was one thing I've read recently that I've loved. Of course, there's a love story in there, and the Song of Achilles, and I think that's truly the greatest love story I've seen. It's that I've read in the near like, I guess, 10 years or something. So like, I don't want to age myself. So I'm just like, 5 years since I was 18. But the love story that resonates in me is something that transcends the devastation and hardships that's going around the characters' lives, as well as, in real life, what's going on around us. A love that's able to lift each other up, make each other laugh, and to know each other so well that you never say the wrong thing. That just really resonated in me. And I've been just so lucky to have my husband, and we've only gotten closer, through the quarantine. Spending every day together, raising our 2 kiddos together.
It's good. It's going in a positive way.
Yeah.
There are times with a little too much closeness.
I just told somebody I'm calling it a win because I haven't ended up on Snap yet. So I'm calling it a win.
So we have a couple of questions that have come in over the video chat, and they're moving away from this lovely thread of connection and more to a little bit of the practicalities. So we have a question here. Would you say it's more challenging for a new writer to publish and find an agent under the current circumstances? I'm going to throw that one to Jayci first. She's our newest here. Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Okay. For me, I was discovered by Harlequin through the slush pile. Literally, I just cold submitted my book, and they loved it and offered me a 3-book deal. And it was kind of in the midst of that while I was getting agent interest as well. So as the negotiations for the books were going on, I signed with my agent as well, so she could jump in and know what to do about the contract and negotiations and rights and all that stuff that I have no idea about. I'm an attorney, or I was in my former life, but it's the industry norms and whatnot that an agent knows and helps you, helps guide you in all those things. And I don't know if people are still trying to get agents, but I think agents are worth their weight in gold. At least mine is. Hi, Sarah.
I will be happy to hear that. Karen, do you have anything to add to that?
So for me, I landed at Harlequin before I had an agent, and it was only because my editor, Patience Bloom, had read one of my indie published books, and she loved it, and so she sent me an email and said, "Would you ever consider writing for Harlequin?" So for me, it was a question of, actually, I contracted 4 books with Desire before I ended up being like, okay, I need help. I need somebody who is, at least I can bounce things off of, but just kind of steer the ship. Not that I'm a ship, but just, I don't know. It's good to have someone who isn't, someone who aren't sleeping with, someone who isn't like your best friend, to give you advice. And so anyway, so my agent, Melissa Jaglinski, was the Desire editor before Stacy. So it's perfect for me because she just knows what kind of stories are going to work at Harlequin. And so it's really good that we can kind of brainstorm and that kind of thing. But for me, and I do think this is becoming more prevalent, unfortunately, I had a deal before I had the agent. And I think, when you have a deal, then finding an agent, you're, obviously not everyone's going to take you because not everyone's going to love your work, and you want someone who's going to love your work. But I did get to kind of be like, okay, these 2 people are my top choice, and then it all worked out exactly the way I wanted it to, and that almost never happens. So, but I do think there's more of that going on right now, that people get a deal and then they get an agent. But I know that's not the case for everyone.
And what about you, Naima?
Well, I had an agent before I came to Harlequin, but I didn't have an agent for a long time while through my career. I think it was 2015 that I got my agent, and she actually had read like 3 books of mine and then contacted me. So like Karen said, I think that's awesome because she loves your work. And so, and she's wonderful. I'm just gonna throw her name out here, giving Rachel Brooks a shout out. And so that's how I came to Harlequin. So, and I've loved it, and she's wonderful. Like JC said, she knows things to look for in contracts that I wouldn't, knows more about the industry that I'm like and I shouldn't be. I should be way, way, way more business minded than I am. But my thing is, I just want to write. I just want to write. So she really takes care of that. But she's so patient because she explains everything to me. And even though my eyes glaze over at a certain point, she like breaks it down to like kindergarten level to me, which is amazing. But as far as if it's harder to, I can't really answer that on authority because I already have one. But I would think like my agent, a lot of agents and editors, because of where we are now, are working from home. And they're online a lot as well as we are more often for that same connection. So I think I don't think it's harder I wouldn't think it would be harder to get an agent in these times because they are, I would think, more connected on social media as well. And then on Twitter, they're always having these hashtags where, you can pitch online to an agent and an editor. So I think if you're looking for one, and like JC said, they're worth their weight in gold when you have a great one. Try that avenue on Twitter, or go to authors because most authors are very, very cool about you reaching out to them. And if there's an author that you love who you write similar to, reach out and ask them who's their editor, and then do your research on that editor and see what they're accepting right now. And if you have a proposal ready or a work in process ready, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook, see what they're looking for. And if they're accepting pitches right now, go for it. What do you have to lose?
Yes, and I'll say from the Harlequin side that right now is a good time to send things in. We are still buying. We just offered a new contract to Jayci, and she said yes.
Yay, congratulations.
And we're looking for
You outed us.
Well, it's such good news.
I know. I've been like, hush, hush. She just outed me.
I shouldn't have said anything.
But it's like, cheers.
But for new writers, one good thing about the Harlequin series lines is that you don't need an agent to submit. So you can find out, we actually have many, many different lines looking for writers right now. We have inspirational lines. We have Karina Adores, which is just launching now. And you can find out all about all of those things at writeforharlequin.com. And none of the lines require you to have an agent right now. So I think it's a great time. We're all at home reading. So that's good. And we have several more questions that have come in. So I'm just going to jump to the next one. Oh, it's actually for me. Okay. As Harlequin is still the name of romance to the general public, do you get contacted by people that your book got them into romance or back into romance or reading? Oh, no, this is for you. I just misread it. Okay. So do your books get people back into romance right now? I mean, I've heard that for the people who are reading Harlequin series lines, some reviews say that, especially after February, where we updated the covers and new people are getting their hands on it. I can't remember who I started with last. So, Naima, let's start with you.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. No pressure. I saw on Facebook, there's a group called Harlequin Connection, and for readers. And I just saw a post like that where they were very picky, and I don't think they had been reading like a ton of them because they are very picky about what they read. But the covers, like since February, the new rebranding has really like grabbed their attention, and they're buying paperbacks because the covers are so gorgeous and the stories match. And I've had several people say to me that they kind of like equated Harlequin like with what their mother and their grandmother read, but now they're getting back into reading a lot of Harlequins because they're realizing they read like one book, and they're realizing these are not books just for your mother and your grandmother. These are updated, like sophisticated, fully developed, great book, hot books, that are grabbing their attention. And suddenly, every month, they're going to Walmart and snatching them up. So yeah, I've heard that quite often, actually.
What about you, Karen? Have you heard that too?
I've definitely heard some in my reader group, again, just people who said that, because I get a lot of, a friend of mine told me to join your group, or a friend of mine told me to read one of your books, and that's obviously always the best thing ever. But definitely there's been a sort of a contingent of people who said, I used to read a lot of romance when I was in high school or college or in my 20s, and I haven't read one in a while. And now, I'm on, now that, I read this book, I need more, and they're kind of getting back into it. I do think we're kind of seeing a renaissance in romance. There's just so many amazing authors. It's not like, faceless people churning out books. I mean, not that it was always like that before, but I'm just saying, there used to be, there was an age where there was 10 to 12 marquee authors that people knew. Now there's hundreds of marquee authors that people know. And so there's just so much. I mean, I do think we're doing a good job of feeding the beast. I don't know. But there's just so much there. And I do think that people are getting pulled back in, and then they don't want to leave.
Right. Romance readers read a lot of books.
Yeah, a lot.
And Jayci, your first book had an Asian American couple on the cover, which I know for our line was the first time that we'd ever done that. Have you found that readers have mentioned, oh, this makes me want to read more romance, or have people been commenting on it to you?
So many times. I mean, so many times. People were so excited to see an Asian American couple on the cover of a Harlequin. Oh my gosh, and they were gorgeous.
Oh, they were. God. Yeah. I had cover envy.
And I have a lot of people who have said, I've never read a Harlequin before. A lot of their reviews and tweets and whatnot starts with, I've never read a Harlequin book, but they loved it and was like so impressed with the quality of the book. And I think people's minds are like, Harlequin, like grocery market kind of book. Like, I think younger generation a lot of times tend to think that, but I think with my book, the younger generation I'm speaking of are picking up the book and realizing that these are well written and well edited. I get that comment as well, that there wasn't a single typo. I mean, it's such high quality. People look at those stuff like they're like, no grammatical error, So I think a lot of people in their minds about romance, and Harlequin is making waves right now. It's amazing.
The cover art is oh gosh, by far. Oh, it's just amazing. Like, I just revealed the cover for my September release Thursday, and the reaction.
Love it.
And they were just, and it wasn't just mine. Then people started pulling up other covers that look at this one, like, and almost always it's not just my book. They're saying, oh, Harlequin is killing it with this cover. Yeah. They're just beautiful.
Oh, the art department will be very happy to hear that. And this sort of segues it from the new covers that we're doing. This is a question for Naima and Jayci. What is it like being an author of color in the romance industry after all the public kerfuffle with the industry's organization? I'm assuming that means RWA.
Right.
Yeah. Whichever one of you wants to start.
Okay, I've been starting a lot. Jayci, you go.
Okay. Okay, it's my turn to bite the bullet. Okay.
I'm not throwing you under the bus or anything.
No, I got this. But I may have forgotten the question because we're moving around. But being a person of color and having the romance organization implode like that broke my heart.
Yes.
It just broke my heart. And it felt like it sapped me of something, my hope, like everything, so much that I dreamed of someday receiving Rita, you know, being a Korean American author, being able to stand up there. Yeah, I had all these dreams, but that's okay. Moving on. What that did more than anything is fuel me. I'm like, we need diverse romance more than ever. I'm like, yeah, you don't want us in your face? Like, bam, here's my book. And then bam, like I have 3 more coming, so I'm giving you 4 books this year. You know, it just fuels me, motivates me why it is that I'm writing my books. Yeah.
I like Jayci, like when it wasn't like what happened with RWA at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. It wasn't new to me. I think what surprised me is how it blew up to the point of, you know, New York Times and like the Washington Post now commenting on it, like every news outlet. But it wasn't new to me. It's always been I don't want to say a struggle, because like for me it hasn't been a struggle because I've kept my focus on always writing, putting my stories out there. And so I think what it did, even though it was ugly, it shined a light, a bigger light, a brighter light on what changes need to be made and how authors of color to put their books, their diverse books out with characters that look like them, what we face every day. You know, we have to face finding cover art that beautiful cover art that reflects our characters. We have to face readers maybe not wanting to buy our books just because of who's on the cover. We've had to struggle with finding a readership that wants to read our books because of who the color of the skin or the experiences of the characters in the book. So it wasn't anything new for me. It was just the light being shined brighter, which I know people are like, let's move away from it. Let's move past it. But for authors of color, we can't move past it because we live it. You know, every book we have this conversation with ourselves. And so what it is, I think it's great that more recognition is being given to it. I think that um, even though it went down ugly, sometimes things have to break apart before we build something new with more awareness, with more strength, a tighter community, a community where you can no longer be blind to what is happening, and you either have to decide, are you going to support an author of color with your money, with your voice, with your support, with your publishing house, as an editor, as an agent. It's all of our responsibilities now. And so I think it was good that it happened. As an author of color, I'm not mad that it happened, but it doesn't really change for me how I move in this industry. I know because of who I am that getting a contract or pushing my book and work and making sure it's out there more. Um, I ask myself the same questions. I know I have to work just as hard, sometimes harder, and not because of the quality of the book, but just because of who's on the cover. So it didn't really change anything for me. But I think what it did change was, hopefully what I hope it changed was this industry and awakening people to what is going on in this industry and kind of like the underbelly of it and the opinions and how people view it, the issue. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. And this is another industry question. Another viewer wants to know, do you think the industry has changed during the pandemic? So do you believe there'll be a new normal for authors as there'll be a new normal for people in our everyday lives. And I'll let whoever thinks they have an answer to that jump in as the first person.
I want to say yes, but no, I'm a hermit. So the only thing different for me is like 2 or 3 days a week I would go to Books a Million and write in the cafe. I can no longer do that. So I can no longer get my Joe Muggs regular coffee with a shot of like hazelnut and whipped cream. So I can't do that anymore. But usually, God, I'm such a hermit, and this really hasn't changed that for me. If anything, I'm like, yes, I'm in my comfort zone. It's just so bad. So bad.
You guys were talking about how your readers were more engaged with you. I don't know if that will continue, but maybe that's part of the new normal with everybody being
I hope so.
inside. That would be fun.
Yeah.
There is a silver lining to this. Maybe that's
We're
it.
digging deep
People
for
are
one.
reading more. People
Yeah.
are reading more. So, and if we're in a time of financial hardship, a $3.99 ebook or a $5 paperback is a fun luxury. And the great thing about a book is that you can read it 20 times if you want to. You can get as much out of it, entertainment, as you want out of it. So hopefully, and again, it's an escape.
Yes, true.
Yeah, I'm also, a homebody as well. I don't go out much. Other than to go out and write or see my writing partner, or it's other than writing, I'm basically home. But I think change in the industry, I was wondering how publishers were doing and whatnot. But as Stacy has outed, I mean, they offered me a 3-book. They offered me a 3-book contract. So I think the publishing industry is going pretty strong based on that slip of evidence. every writers, aspiring published authors, just keep on writing and submitting because people are reading it.
Yeah. We have a little bit of love here from a different viewer who says, I love these ladies and their books, and all the yay for steamy Jayci. And then next up, let's see. If you send in a standalone story, are you still eligible for X amount more in the book deal? Just curious, or are you guys going for series? So I think that must be for me. And I think that, yes, a standalone story you could do a contract for more than one book, depending on what the program is looking for. It does not have to be part of a series. So send it in. That's what I always say. Send it in. Okay, next question. Is there any male Harlequin out there? And yes, Karina Adores is launching this coming week, I think, if it wasn't last week. There's lots of press out there about it. There'll be male, female. It's a very broad range. And so that is available now, which is great.
Yay.
Let's see. I think we might have another question hiding down here. Yes. Okay. So Karen and Naima, do you enjoy being hybrid authors? Is it more difficult scheduling your writing time, your marketing, your promotion, etc.? So Karen, let's start with you.
I always think hybrid is funny because it makes me sound like I'm a robot. It is, well, it's hard, but I think it's rewarding. I love both sides. I love the traditional side where there are parameters and I have to, meet a deadline, which is really good for me. And I love being able to write an art form and tell the art department what my characters look like, and then they turn it into something beautiful. And I don't, I'm just grateful on the other end. But, I like writing my indie books because I get to kind of be weird and outside the box, and I get to control what I do with it. And I love being able to, if a cover's not working, to put a new one on there, or to rewrite a blurb, or put it on sale, or whatever. So it is a challenge. I would say scheduling is the hardest part because, you know, I want to give my Harlequin books my full attention when they're out. And so it's kind of, in theory, it should be as simple as just kind of filling little holes in your schedule, but it doesn't always work out like that because you don't finish the book in time, or, you know, life happens and, you know, stuff gets put on hold. But I guess the good side of that is that with indie, you can, well, there's always some gray area with pre-orders and things like that. But otherwise, you know, you have that flexibility and you can move things around. And I do like both sides.
I do too. Like like Karen said, I need the structure of traditional publishing. Because if you don't give me a deadline when Gunsmoke comes on, I'm gonna find a reason to stop and watch Matt Dillon. I'm just like, I love the structure of it, having a deadline, and I have such a wonderful editor, and and so when I say like, can I have one more week, and she's like, yeah, sure, but I know it gives me like it makes me more disciplined, and I need that. I love like the cover art form, the surprise that never gets old of seeing that cover. I love holding my book or seeing it on the shelves. That is, there's nothing like that. So all of that, I love that. That side of it. And it's what I dreamed about when I was younger. So every time a new book comes out, it's like realizing that dream all over again. I also love indie because like Karen said, I can just be totally outside the box. You know, there are no rules for me. I can say as many bad words as I want. I can get as dirty as I want. I can try. I can do stuff that, you know, Stacy won't be like, oh, hold up. They have too many of those words in the book. And also I can set my own schedule. Like when it comes out, my own deadline, my own cover art. So it's more about the control with the indie. I have more control over it, which is always intoxicating. But it is also scheduling. It's also finding the time to write those books when, because the traditional books, because I have contracts for them, are the priority. So trying to write maybe 2K on the traditional book in the morning and then writing another 500 to 1K on the indie book at night. Sometimes it can really get tiring. And so that, I think that's the struggle of being more disciplined and organized with balancing traditional and indie. But I love it. I love being a hybrid author.
Yeah, I think that I found that the hybrid authors, whether they write for other lines, other programs, or self-pub, they tend to have a bigger fan base. Like it just seems to kind of all spill over onto each other. We have another loving comment here. Karen Sin's cover with the red dress, gorgeous. And since I'm in the outing of people, I'm going to out Karen too as being a newly recontracted contracting all around here.
She's just spilling all the tea.
And then the next question here is, does Harlequin do audiobooks? Any plan if not? So yes, we do audiobooks for sure. Our series books don't all have audiobooks, but many do. We kind of select them, and there are plans to increase that. So be on the lookout for your favorites in audiobook. Okay, next question. Are you ladies doing or attending any virtual conferences since this pandemic seems to be stretching out social distance? So what do you guys have on the horizon? Jayci, do you have anything upcoming?
I do have a panel coming up for the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. That's always a mouthful. We're a group of 6, including me, Asian American authors, talk about what it means to write and represent Asian Americans in our books. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's May 28th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I also have some, with my other publisher, there's going to be a panel as well that I'll be attending in early June, where you have to create stories on the spot with other author or something.
That's fun.
Like they just throw you like curveballs and you have to switch it at the last minute. And I'm like, sounds pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's like
like,
exciting but scary. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll do it. So that's it for me for now.
All right, cool. What about you, Naima? Are you going to be anywhere virtually?
No, like I had really scaled back this year because we were supposed to go on a cruise for our 20th anniversary.
Happy anniversary!
Right. Which if you haven't heard, there's a pandemic, so it's not happening because it was a Mediterranean cruise. So, but I did do a Polycon virtually, which was really fun. They ended, they had to cancel it, but they did a virtual, conference, and that was fun. I was going to be at Lori Foster's RAGT in June, and I don't think, I haven't heard anything about them doing anything virtual for that. But if I do find it, makeup, the situation is set up, I don't know.
Karen, are you going to be anywhere upcoming?
Well, I've done like 3 or 4 podcast interviews in the last couple of weeks, so there's stuff coming out. I don't know whenever they get edited. And then I don't have any panels. I have at least one Facebook Live Harlequin wants me to do in June. Because I have a new book out called Forbidden Lust.
Really good.
Yeah. I'm trying to be better about Facebook Live, and I think right now, especially readers just really enjoy being able to see you talk and see your face. And so I'll be on Facebook a lot in June, live.
We'll be there.
Okay.
Be there or be square. Let's see. So we only have maybe about 5 to 7 minutes left. So we've had sort of a mix here of industry questions and, general romance questions. So I'm going to ask one that's just kind of fun. This was in our bonus questions. Like, what is your favorite thing about being a romance novelist? And it can be like generally or at this particular moment, either one. So, Jayci, let's start with you. Since you're newer to this.
I feel brand spanking new because I just debuted in February. What's my favorite thing so far is, I'm going to say it's the surprise of the new cover for each book. Yeah. Getting that, and I'm just like, what? And I stare at it. I literally have it on my computer screen, and I stare at it at least for like 2 days. Go and look at it. Go and look at it. That's been incredible. It's not like a process that I've really thought about as an author attempting to become published. I was just like, I want to see my book out there, and my book in my head is my manuscript, right? But I never thought it would get dressed up so beautifully, and I'm glad that the readers think the inside of the book matches the covers. So there's a little bit of that pressure because the covers are so good. We have to produce really high quality work.
Did you go looking for the cover in the bookstores, like in the wild?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, of course I did.
Turn it like face out every time. I did that.
I would just kind of find it and bounce around in front of it. It's like, my book is here, my book is here.
Yeah, do you do that? Stacy,
huh?
With all the authors that you edit, do you go looking for the books that you edited in the bookstore?
I do. I go looking for all the desires. Every time I go to a store that has series, I'm like, where's their series rack? Let's to make sure the desires are here. And then we kind of turn them out. So all the swimmers look really nice. Yeah. So yes, I do.
Yeah. That's funny.
Karen, what's your favorite thing about
kind of the schmoopy answer?
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily so much on the business side and not even really on the creative side. It's just the personal side. And I'm going to get all choked up, but
oh no,
it's the other authors, the people who are really your friends, who have your back. And I mean, the desire authors are just amazing. I will never, ever forget my first RWA after I signed with Harlequin, but my first book hadn't come out. So nobody knew who I was. And I walked into the Harlequin Let's Talk sessions. I walked in the room, I knew who people were, like, oh crap, there's Yvonne Lindsay, but, and Kat Shield saw me and she pointed at me and she said, Karen Booth, you're a new desire author, come over here. And she, it was like being invited to the cool kids table at the lunch. Everybody's at the cool kids table. And I just, there are so many ups and downs in this industry. And I think people think you're published, everything goes smoothly, you float into your office every morning and you write and it's, beautiful and perfect. But there's just, sometimes the words don't come. Sometimes you come up with an idea that nobody likes. Sometimes the book doesn't meet the expectations you have for it. And having friends who know what you're going through and are also going through it, that's the best part.
Wow.
That's
great. I'm a sympathy crier. Don't do that. For me, I would, okay, listen, I was all of that. Okay. I love being able to create worlds that I see in my head. I love being able to write me and Donnie Wahlberg's love story over and over and over again with different faces. I love the creative part of it. I love the just like the friends, the whole, for the most part, authors are awesome people and the most giving people and unselfish. If you ask for something, they're right with advice, with a word of encouragement. They're all right there. So all of that it's just wonderful. And it's, as a girl from Plainfield, New Jersey, which is as small as it sounds, and a Black woman from Plainfield, New Jersey, who always dreamed about reading Nora Roberts' book and one day wanting to do that and never realizing that could actually happen for me to actually be able to do it. Every day I wake up, I'm just incredibly, incredibly thankful for it. Incredibly. All of that is wonderful, but I have to say the best part about being a romance author is writing with no pants every day and not having to shoulder off. No bra, no makeup, no pants, pajamas. That's it. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
That's funny. Well, look at us. We're like 1 minute away from 11:30.
Wow, we did it.
We did it.
Yay.
Yay. So I guess we'll pop in maybe to the YouTube video if there are any questions that come up. I believe there's also going to be this cross-posted on Facebook, so we can pop in and maybe add some of those links we talked about to the panels and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And thank you, all three of you, for being with us. And thank you, all the people who are watching. It was really
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.